Welcome to the Pipeline award-winning show. As always, I am your host, Jason Gibbs. You can find me on Twitter at Pipeline_. You can find me coming through your speakers right now. We promised a, should we say, darker episode, and we plan on delivering. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mr. Roy.
Hey, Jason, how you doing? I'm tickled to be here on DEI week for Pipeline. It's been an awesome way for you to
Look, I should have told people not to adjust their screens. Mike has not fallen asleep in a tanning booth. It is one and only Roy, possibly for our Canada family, Roy. I'm not sure.
Roy, yes. This is your brown Mike on Ozempic host for this week. So we're just filling again. We're going to have some fun. We're going to talk some sports, going to talk some college football, betting lines.
Yeah, big week 3. You know, we had the enormous week 1, the mediocre week 2, although it did have some really good games, really good surprises. Not for the casual fans, but for us hardcore college football fans. Definitely had some great games. And now we're right back into it, a huge week 3. And let's get right into the matchups.
Yep. So we're looking at some good matchups. Like you referenced last week, it was kind of, bad. There was nothing. I mean,
well, again, bad for the casual, not bad for the and look, we still had the upset of Florida. We had some good games. I know Florida State had a big win. I'm sure you're happy about that. Alabama, I think, had their biggest win ever. So
yes.
Those type of
most points scored, at least.
Yeah, FCS games are behind us. But this week, a really interesting matchup where I want to start: Clemson at Georgia Tech. I think before the year, people might have circled that in a light marker. Now it's a little bit darker. Clemson they lose their first game. They struggled with Troy at home, really perplexing. Kate Feime and the Klubnik not performing up to his Heisman standard, or preseason Heisman hype, I guess I should say. Haynes King looming for Georgia Tech. This line opened at 6.5, Roy, and it's been bet all the way down to -2.5. Is there value at this point at Clemson?
I don't. It's tough, right? Clemson on the road, so this is actually their first true road test of the season, or really the first road test of the season anyway. But judging by the second half of Troy, they were probably on the road in their own home stadium last week, so they can get themselves right. You come here, you have a double-digit win against a pretty good Georgia Tech team. Everybody's okay. Everybody's happy. Let's not forget, Georgia Tech didn't exactly blow the doors off of Colorado. Somebody needed a certain QB touchdown at the end of the game to make some money. And thank you, sir, Mr. King. Thank you. But Colorado not exactly predicted to do very much in the Big 12 or really in general. So the pressure though kind of shifts on Clemson, of course, because of the expectations this season. But I think you're gonna get maybe a Clemson team that shows up. If not, you may get rumblings of, is this shades of FSU last year, where they thought they had a good team and they just didn't have a good team.
That's a great point.
Very possible.
When we think about Georgia Tech at home, Brent Key, a tough, hard-nosed coach, 8-2 against the spread versus ranked teams for Georgia Tech at home. Yeah. So something to keep in mind. And we mentioned this on Twitter to friends of the program, CFB Daily. Make sure you follow them if you don't already. In a weird way, if Georgia Tech wins this game, it kind of devalues the win for Georgia Tech, because at that point, Clemson's going to have 2 losses and their only victory is a struggle at home with Troy. They're going to say, oh, well, Clemson's no good. No wonder they won. And in a weird way, Georgia Tech winning makes the game less for them. But you're right. To your point, for Florida State, it could have kind of a mirrored year. Now, they came in with a bunch of hype, just like the Seminoles did last year, and they fell flat early and often. this would knock Clemson to 1-2, and I don't want to say out of the college football playoff. They could have obviously run the table in the ACC and get to the championship game, but the line's been steamed down past the number, and that's got to be concerning for Clemson fans.
Right. So you have 62% of the bets on Clemson to cover, and you've got 65% of the money on Clemson. So even as the money's kind of, even as the line has fallen, the public is still on Clemson, which kind of shows you there's some sharp action on Georgia Tech.
Yeah, going the other way. A little bit of reverse line movement going on.
If you can look at this game in two ways, of course, right? If you're a bettor, you're looking at this that, Georgia Tech at home to cover at +9 would have looked a lot better earlier this week. But if you're looking at it from just a pure like ACC seasonal play, all the pressure's on Clemson to perform. So this is where you determine if you're a well-coached team or not.
Absolutely.
Any predictions on the game?
I should have mentioned to everybody. Roy is the absolute king of hedges. I was trying to come up with a nickname for you, like Hedge King or something. I thought of the very obvious Sonic the Hedgehog, but that just seemed a little, I don't know, iffy. We'll have to keep thinking about it.
You could do a Breaking Bad. Hedgenberg.
You know me, I don't watch. Only thing I watch is college football. That's all I'm allowed to watch.
On TV. And Bluey, but we'll talk.
How good would it have been to get Georgia Tech early in the week, and now you've hedged with Clemson below the number? You could be looking at a double payout there. So I want to say Georgia Tech, but the lines drop so much that I worry a little bit.
Yeah, you may actually just be safer taking the steam or taking the the kind of the worser line, but the money line on Clemson. Just call it a day. Don't even mess with points.
Good point.
Or skip, right? You missed it, skip it. Yeah, just like
a skipped green is better than a taken red. I think I heard that one at some point in our history.
In our stored history of
that's right.
Intermediately okay picks.
Here's another interesting matchups. It kind of blew my mind. I wasn't even sure it was real when I in the on season when I was looking at it before the season kicked off. Oklahoma traveling to, did I read that right? Temple. Yes, Temple. Only the fourth time, I believe, that these teams have ever met. Oklahoma coming off a big victory against Michigan, traveling to Philadelphia to take on your Fighting Owls of Temple. Pretty odd for a team, a program as storied as Oklahoma, as big as Oklahoma, with his dreams as big as Oklahoma, going on the road to a G5 program. I don't see the upside. I only see downside. But that being said, I definitely applaud them here.
Yeah, you gotta love that for the the Temple. I won't say smaller school. It is a smaller school in the college football landscape, but obviously a big market. So maybe that's something where let's double this up as a recruiting trip, shall we, folks, for the Oklahoma program.
Maybe squeeze in a trip to the DMV area. A lot of football hotbed.
Huge. Area. Go down to the food markets, get some good food. But 60% of the bets are coming in on Temple to cover at a 23.5 spread and 79% of the money. So they are with you on kind of a letdown road follow-up. So to me, keep an eye on it. I would say spread's huge, probably worth a value play. Middle of the day, early games. It's at noon. So I like that.
And we always look, Roy, for these sandwich games. Michigan last week, Auburn next week, lowly Temple in the middle. Do we go through the motions? Do we get the victory, an uninspiring victory, but Temple covers easily? Definitely something to keep an eye on.
I will say this, I like the veteran savviness of Oklahoma's quarterback. It's not like it's a young freshman, just handling success here. Yeah. He's been around the block, so
John is elementary material. I love him. Heisman hopeful. but needs to stay sharp. And I think Brent Venables will have the team. I don't foresee an Al victory, but it will be interesting kind of going on the road, maybe lose focus, maybe our eyes are behind us and ahead of us, and
Yeah.
kind of don't cover this game here.
They should pray. If you're an Oklahoma fan, you're wanting a fast start. That's all.
Yeah.
You do
You
not
don't
want
want
that slow
some,
pace.
we saw the Wake Forest NC State game where Wake Forest returns the opening kickoff, and then NC State had to fight back the whole game. They eventually win and cover, but Oklahoma on the road in a weird environment, you definitely don't want that sort of start.
No.
Game of the day, I think we can, or I'd say, yeah, game of the day. 3:30 game, Georgia at Tennessee, Dogs at the Vols. I think it was, what did it start at? -6. It's been steamed down to 3.5. It hasn't gotten to the number yet, so that's definitely something to take
I
note
got
of.
Yeah, I've got 7.5 on one book, and is what it opened up at, and then
Mm-hmm.
4.5 currently.
Okay, so it kind of crossed the original number, or slash was right around the original number,
Mm-hmm.
went down to the next key number. In general, Kirby Smart has kind of had Josh Heupel's number. I
Yeah.
think in their 4 games, I tweeted this out earlier. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Pypeline _. I tweeted out earlier, Josh Heupel against Kirby Smart only averaging 14.3 points a game. Going to be tough. I know so far Georgia hasn't looked the part. Georgia, my preseason win it all pick, and my surprise player Gunnar Stockton to make some noise has not looked the part so far. I have a sneaking suspicion that they've been holding their cards close to their vest, not putting anything on tape for these exact type of matchups. And I know the defense has been tough, and I know they're going to hit hard and play fast. It's can the offense score enough, and can they hold? Joey Aguilar coming in for the Vols really seems to be fitting that Josh Heupel system.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know if they can put up enough points on the Dogs, but I like the Dogs to win, and I actually like them to cover.
Yeah, I would say if you're a Tennessee fan, you are encouraged by the line movement. Started at 7.5, now down to 4.5. Money is on the Dogs, so that movement suggests good money is on the Vols. How much do you take away from the Syracuse win, giving up all those points, scoring a lot of points? I don't know if there's much there. So early in the season, it's hard to make
Yeah.
heads or tails of anything, right? Since this is a Tennessee segment, I should, just like, Nico could turn around and run a Heisman run. So you've got a lot of unknowns in college football this early on in the season. So for Tennessee, they've moved on. They've got a new general at quarterback. Do you think it's going to be a bit too big of a stage where Georgia can kind of use their experience and just kind of wear them down? Like you've said earlier, Georgia really hasn't looked apart, but that they are really committed to the run at this point in their offense. So do they surprise everyone and just start spreading it out and slinging it?
Yeah, I mean,
Would not be surprised.
when we think about Gunnar Stockton in the SEC championship game, he was definitely solid against Texas. He did get knocked out of the game late.
Yeah.
Carson Beck had to come back in after being pulled. But sometimes being at home, especially when you've never been in a game like this, you can kind of get the overhype. We expend too much energy too quickly. We're kind of playing outside of ourselves. And before you know it, you're down 10, 12, 14, nothing. So it will be crucial for the Vols to stay in the game early.
Yeah, I would say to me, you look for Georgia to maybe come out and spread it out and catch them surprised to get that kind of pressing feeling that we can't, because on the flip side, Georgia, you go up 10, 14 points, you can start grinding down, start doing your game that you love, just basically eating clock and 3 yards in a cloud of dust. So We'll see. This is a skip for me on the betting side of things. I just want to enjoy it. That would be my pick. But if I'm picking just to pick the winner, I like Tennessee to cover. I like Georgia to win a close one.
Gotcha.
I like the under.
Game we're going to go over
Like the under.
the CW's biggest game in the history of the CW, maybe the biggest event in CW history, the Battle for Florida. And this is going to have our, let me check it, factoid of the week.
Ooh, nice.
South Florida at Miami. Sunil. Oh, juice. Sorry. I knew I would blow it at some point. I was 100%.
15, 40. And,
what did you have the over-under at? What did you have the over-under at?
I had it 10 minutes. We got there 15-50. That's pretty good. All right, so I'll clap here so we can do our edit.
I took the under. I just cashed my bet. This was an Al Michaels scenario where I cashed my own bet. But anyway, back to the game. South Florida at Miami. South Florida, only the fourth team in college football history to open up the year in weeks 1 and 2, beating 2 ranked opponents. I found that almost mind-blowing. I couldn't – it's a little difficult to look this part of it up because a lot of the older records, especially like AP voters and stuff, aren't the best even on the internet. I think they might be the first ever unranked team to do that. So they weren't ranked in either week 1 or week 2, and they beat 2 ranked teams. I think they might be the first ever. So really high stakes for the Bulls program. If they win, I think this is a Battle of Florida. Miami has to leave the state.
I would say a couple things. One, I am very excited about CW's greatest game ever broadcast on their network. 2, I believe you've dressed up for the part to be their new game day host for their new college football channel. So that I do love that. But
obviously, my bets didn't hit last week. I'm on the verge of getting evicted. So I'm going with the Bill Walton look this week.
He's got big money on the high school game tonight. So we've got number 3 is what we're looking for is if South Florida can pull off the miracle, and this would be a miracle. I no disrespect to the Bulls, but you go into Miami and win back-to-back, or you go to Florida, go to Miami, win back-to-back games is what, 18-plus point underdogs, historic in its own right. You would be the number 1 team in the country, right?
You'd have to be.
You have to be. I mean,
I doubt the AP voters would do that. I doubt they'd spring them from 18 to 1, although the AP did take a lot of heat this week for their inconsistencies, some of the voters' inconsistencies. So there might be that sort of secondhand pressure that pushes what you're saying, but I agree with you totally. And it would be miraculous. I hope they do it. I don't really have any stakes. I'm not a fan of either team. I'm just a fan of college football. But 2 back-to-back 18-point underdog victories outright would be amazing.
On the road, coming off the heels of a ranked Boise State win at home. That's 3 straight ranked wins, with each opponent getting better as they go. I mean,
yeah, and if this is only the 4th time, and like I said, this isn't quite set in stone, but if this is only the 4th time this has ever happened, I would have to imagine it would be the first time anyone's beat 3 straight ranked opponents.
Yeah. Well, a lot of things have to align for that to happen that deep into the start of the season too.
So what do we have to break down? We have Miami at minus 18. Is that the current line? I haven't checked the line.
Right. So
17 and a half.
17 and a half. It opened up at 18 and a half. We got 53% of the bets on Miami and 80% of the money on South Florida. Sharp action is on Miami. Money is on South Florida. You got kind of a toss-up on the spread side of things here. So it's an interesting take of the majority of the bets are on Miami, but the big money is on South Florida.
Interesting. I don't know if the people are just kind of riding the wave and trying to stay hot. Byron Brown has looked good, and I know you're not necessarily a believer in Carson Beck. I am, even though I know there's a lot of the ancillary off the field, Instagram, DMing, sliding into DMs. I understand that. I can see why that would make people shy away or even dislike him from just a player standpoint. We have seen Miami give up some games at home to lesser opponents. Georgia Tech comes to mind. They literally blew that game. I think that was last year or the year before. But what do you think about here? You think Miami definitely wins, or are we giving a Hail Mary shot to South Florida?
So some interesting stuff that we don't know the answer to that we'll know the answer to this week is Florida's offense that bad from last week, or South Florida actually have a pretty good defense? Or is it somewhere in the middle there? Obviously Florida should have won the game. They're the more talented team. They had, they're at home. Even if you lose a close one, you got to win that game. So kudos to South Florida. However, they were given some breaks by Florida in that game where you could almost say that Florida really beat themselves more than South Florida kind of took it to them. Whereas on the flip side, you go to the Boise game, of course, South Florida put it to Boise. There really wasn't a game.
Right.
So to me here, it's all about, again, pressure. So does Miami, who just, kudos to them, won a close game with Notre Dame and had to come back in that game. They had a situation where they've been tested a little bit, obviously, by a better team. So I don't think South Florida surprises them. I think Mario Cristobal has them ready. I actually think that Miami potentially is going to cover. I know earlier this week we had a pregame, which you were doing your interview for the DEI stuff. So I told you I did like South Florida, but the more I think about it, I think you're going to get a Miami boat race. However, let's not forget, biggest game in CW history. Is there going to be some shenanigans happening to make sure that they get an opportunity?
That's true.
To host
shenanigans.
There may be, a future playoff game on CW by 2030. Nice. And it could be right here. It starts right here.
Starts tonight. Or starts Saturday night. Or Saturday. Yeah. It's a weird kickoff. That was at like 4:30.
4:30. They're like, you know what?
Saturday.
We're gonna ease into this. we can't really take away our Gossip Girl reruns. So
right, that's true.
Ease into this.
If the Gossip Girl reruns are running late, the kickoff is not going to be delayed. You're just going to miss the first 3 minutes of action.
You actually just get you have to just be in the Chicago area to get it on the remainder of the game, because national CW is going to show the Gossip Girl rerun.
But they will re-air the game Wednesday morning at 3 a.m.
At 3 a.m.
in its entirety.
Right,
how about the night game Saturday night? Two big ones involving SEC teams. The Shoe Throw Bowl, LSU, Florida, always a great one. Florida, we've mentioned a couple times at this point. And then we have A&M and Notre Dame. Going to be Notre Dame only have played one game at this point. So they played their first game, the aforementioned game against Miami, lost it. Now they go home to lick their wounds, but they've had a week off already. So let's just start with the SEC matchup, LSU, Florida. We mentioned Florida. We mentioned how they dropped a very winnable game. You just said they shot themselves in the foot. I think we can almost all agree on that. But Florida, man, they have a brutal stretch coming up, and having to go to Death Valley at night against a top 3 team, the crowd's obviously going to be raucous. It could get away here, and Billy Napier could be finding himself on the unemployment line soon.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of feel for Florida a bit with that schedule. However, the schedule does breathe opportunity, right? So Florida could potentially be a 4-loss team in the playoff with that schedule, because that just by mathematics, they would have so many quality wins, could sneak themselves in there.
Going into Death Valley Saturday night and winning would be one of those quality wins.
A huge win. Yeah,
it'd be huge. It would completely wash the taste of the South Florida debacle out of their mouth, and they'd be right back in the top 25 and ready to go.
And by kickoff, they could actually say that we lost to the number one team in the country.
That's
So
true.
the opportunity is here for Florida to basically save their season. However, you need a confident coach and you need a system that works in the SEC. And right now, that system's been hit or miss. Obviously, a huge game, a lot of distractions this week for Florida. You hate to see that heading into a big game.
Mhm.
But could they respond? I mean, crazy stuff happens at Death Valley at night. And
That's true.
you just have these wacky SEC matchups that potentially
Where people throw shoes and throw the game away.
The
Those
game's
type
always
of
been
things
close.
do happen.
And
It'll be interesting because Billy Napier was basically written off last year and somehow circled the wagons, totally revitalized their season, had all the momentum coming into this year, and now I feel like it's Groundhog Day. We're right back where we are. Can he do it again facing a much tougher schedule? That'll be the key.
my buddy I had lunch with today, a lovely lunch. He said, it's amazing how in 2 weeks college football can change, right? You Billy Napier was penthouse to the doghouse, and Mike Norvell, Florida State, went from the doghouse to the penthouse in 2 weeks,
Yep.
right? So
I don't think any other sport does that. I don't think any other
No.
sport has that much swing and just all one way and all, because you can think about teams get upset in the NFL, and it could be a bad loss. What was it, like a 7-point underdog winning outright?
Yeah.
You go from there's not many 18-point spreads
No.
in the NFL, and then you lose that one, but then come all the way back. What about the spread here, though? We have LSU minus 7.5, so you're going to have to lay the number in the hook.
Mm-hmm. That's been steamed up over the number. It did open at 6.5.
Right. So that's always key. I mean, obviously, you would have loved to grab both sides of the number and just sit back and hope for a 7-point victory. I just think unranked Florida licking their wounds, and perhaps they got caught. What we mentioned with Oklahoma, maybe they got caught looking ahead to this week. Didn't take South Florida seriously. They have all the attention on them this week. I'm going to go Gators plus 7.5 because I feel like that number should be a little higher, and the fact that it's not makes me want to hold on to the hook.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad play. I mean, you're getting the Brian Kelly hook there, so you're hoping that he does something crazy or stupid as far as clock management at the end that can keep that lead intact. Your bet percentages are: you got 76% of the bets on LSU, you got 57% of the money on LSU. So the fact that line looks like it's all matched up statistically the way it should, I would say you take Florida plus 7.5. You hope for a close game. I think I normally hate taking a road underdog, but for this, let's see what they're made of. Yeah. Otherwise, they may have only, faced their only victory of the year. Only have their one victory of the year, and it could be a long. They don't show any fight, right? If they get blown out, right, he may, like you said, he may get fired
sooner rather than later. Yeah,
which I mean, it's a pretty big buyout, but they'll find a way. Yeah.
Yep.
So the other matchup you had,
maybe you and I starting up some groomers. Who knows? Gruden to Florida. You heard it here first. We'll see. Depending on Saturday night, Gruden to Florida.
You could do Urban Meyer.
I don't.
Just go back to the well, right?
Yeah, that's true. It did work out okay last time.
It did, yes. I mean,
let's talk about the other ranked matchup. Or I know LSU wasn't, or Florida wasn't ranked, but the ranked matchup: Texas A&M, Notre Dame. Interesting. Like I already said, Notre Dame already having the bye week. Even though they lost, I was really impressed with Notre Dame quarterback CJ. Maybe you can drive my car, and obviously pairing him with Jeremiah. All we need is love. We might go full Beatles on Notre Dame for nicknames. But This week, Aggies going to South Bend, 6.5 Notre Dame to spread. What are we thinking?
I like Notre Dame on this one. I think, you know, I love their coach. I love their culture that he's building up there. I love the way that quarterback responded in Miami. I mean, they got down a little early and they came back and actually took the lead, if I don't recall, late in the game. So
Yep.
you have a bad you have a good loss on your resume if you're Notre Dame. Losing this game, that's a big one. You know, you start the season in that big of a hole. You're granted it's 12-team playoff, anything can happen, but they need a big win. I think they respond, and obviously there's no look ahead here for them. They got the bye week. They got something to prove. You know, yeah, you don't really want to have that loss lingering that they had in Miami, but now they're off to business. We'll see what they're with. I think they do a good job and push a slightly overrated Texas A&M team.
So I like the Irish here. I like them to cover too. I would say this, to your point, if they lose and they go 0-2, they don't have that safety net of being in a conference. So yes, they've lost to 2 ranked teams, but they're not going to have that kind of auto bid. And so you're also throwing away ranked opportunities, potential. Like the Miami one was on the road. So losing at home to a lower ranked Aggies team that in which you're the favorite wouldn't bode well. You're right. 12 teams is not going to write them off, but they'd really have to kind of get it going after that.
Yeah, and their schedule kind of hit or miss on that. You don't know how good that's going to look down the road. Yeah,
exactly.
So, you gotta worry about that. I do want to have a couple bonus games because somebody may have money on them, so I'd like to get some more analysis on that. And they actually are 2 SEC games. The sneaky game of the week: Arkansas at Ole Miss.
Well, that brings up one of America's favorite segments.
Yes,
Roy, is I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but if I were ... I might want to check Lane Kiffin's DraftKings account after last week's debacle, but we'll pass it off to Hedge Master himself, and you can walk us through the last couple of minutes of the last week's Ole Miss Kentucky game. Tell us where you were at. Tell us what you were thinking, and do you want to personally take Lane Kiffin out for lunch to give him the once over?
All right, so I'm gonna. This is a story you don't even know, so we'll end it with this story of this nonsense because now you've got me mad. But so I'm driving. I'm actually out of state for my son has a sports tournament. So in this particular state, I cannot make a bet. So as I've crossed the state lines, I cannot make the bet. So now I'm driving home from this sporting event, and I see Ole Miss is down 10-0 quick. And I'm like, oh, I love Ole Miss to win this game. Matter of fact, I love Ole Miss to cover 3.5, which was plus 180 on the betting line there. So I mosey on up. Couldn't get the bet to submit because I was in the wrong state. So I am now like 15 miles from the state line, and I'm just watching it.
You've already alerted the highway patrol to let you speed to get to the.
So I'm going right, and they're punting. They're doing this. It's 10-0. I'm just like, come on, man. We get to the state line, and it's 4th and 1, and I kid you not, Ole Miss to win is minus 110, and the
just
line
to win outright.
Went outright. The line, because it was 4th and 1, they were deep in their own territory. The line for 3.5 had gone up to plus 200. So I was like, I want this. This is like just nuts. It locks on me before I can submit the bet. I undo the bet. I can't watch the game.
Yeah.
I see it, and they're at 1st and goal at the 1 was the next play, and Ole Miss is now minus 280 to win, and the spread's all out of whack, right? It's all messed up. So now I'm just like mad. So they score, it's 10-7. So I just take 7.5 at plus 180 now. I'm like, okay, Ole Miss has got this. They've got themselves. Minus 7.5. That was the opening line. I'll take it at plus 180. It's still good value in my opinion.
Right.
So I got the whole game. I'm excited. Obviously Ole Miss turns it up at 14-13 at halftime. Kentucky's plus 10.5. I don't have enough money in my account to cover the bet that I had did because I had a substantial bet on the 7.5. For me, not saying in general, just substantial bet for me. So I hedge what I have left, which is about 50% of what the original bet was, but still something, on Kentucky 10.5 plus 10.5. So I need I've got some wiggle room now. 8,
Right,
9,
right.
So Ole Miss cannot cover 7.5 the whole game. They're sputtering out.
Yeah.
They've got the lead, but they just cannot get it going.
Right.
They go up. They're at 1. Sorry, what are they? They're up 3. And they go up 7. They go up 7. They go up 7. And then they're just now trying to run out the clock. They get a holding call. Sorry, they have a big play. They're deep in territory. Have a big play. Get tackled at like the 3-yard line, but it was a holding call to hold it back, push it back 10 yards. Which I'm thinking, this is awesome.
Now you're cooking.
Now I'm good. We're inside 2 minutes. It's 3rd down. Kentucky still has 2 timeouts, so we're good. We can just play for a field goal, get that two possession lead. They kick the field goal. They're up 10 points with 1 minute. Both bets are going to cash.
Right.
I'm like, all right, let me just open up.
Hedge master strikes again.
I'm going to hedge. I'm going to do it. Yeah, I'm even looking like, give me a cash out. I'll take the cash out. Just give it to me. I want this over with. I just sweated all this out.
Yeah. Now, at this point, there's only seconds left.
There's 1 minute left, no timeouts, down 10. Ole Miss kicks the ball off, which is lovely. First play, incomplete. Second play, incomplete. Short pass, out of bounds, like 3 yards.
Right.
Third play, 3rd down, 7 is a minute. There's about 55 seconds left. 3rd and 7. Quarterback runs for the first down. Runs for about 15 yards, first down.
Now you can feel it coming. You can feel the momentum coming.
Okay, so it's 1st and 10. They are not clocking it. They are just going to the ball. They hike the ball with 33 seconds left. He's getting, the pass rush is coming because,
right.
Offensive line is exhausted. Ole Miss is getting pressure, and he rolls out and just heaves one down the field. They catch it about 16 yards down the field and then breaks the tackle because God hates me. And he is beelining to the sidelines. And I'm like, no, don't do this. They tackle him. So now the clock stops, first down. It's 13 seconds on the clock. This play took 20 damn seconds.
Right.
13 seconds. They're rushing to it. They're at the 18-yard line. There's really no reason to do anything here. Maybe spike the ball, kick the field goal. No, they're going shotgun. They're ready to hike the ball. He hikes the ball, but Kiffin calls a timeout. He hiked the ball. It wasn't a spike. And I'm thinking, okay, if he hikes the ball, they run a play. There is no kick the field goal, do the onside. You don't have enough time.
Yeah.
So he hikes the ball, they call timeout. And then, Greg McElroy, who I love dearly, on the call. Well, you got to take the field goal here, don't you? And then kick the. I said, don't you do it. And I'm not sure if you know this, but Kentucky has a very good field goal kicker. So
yeah.
It's like an automatic field goal. And I'm just seething because literally $600 is being slowly ripped out of my hands and I cannot do anything about it. It's like, it's like watching your kid just do poorly in the sporting tournament earlier in a state above you. And you just nothing you can do. And it happens. So then what do, man? You go on tilt. That's what you do. You go on tilt and you have a terrible weekend after that. Let me tell you, I think I went 0 for 8 on tilt. let me tell you the follow-up. You don't know this. I went on tilt. I took the over in the Michigan-Oklahoma game.
Okay.
Right? It was like 44 and a half. I think it was 44.5. First drive. What do you think Oklahoma comes down? Just gangbusters.
Right.
Touchdown. I'm like, oh, we're good. Second drive, Michigan actually gaining some chunk yardage. I'm like, okay, this is good. They just stall out. Then they give me false hope at the end. They give me false hope.
Yeah.
And Michigan can't convert a third or fourth down to save their lives. First play of the second half, by the way, 75-yard touchdown for Michigan, puts me back on the other. And I'm too stubborn to hedge at this point because I'm just still bitter at Lane Kiffin.
Literally, just man, always hedge.
Always hedge, right? But I'm staring at Lane Kiffin's press conference of him talking to reporters, apologizing to all the bettors out there.
That to me is the coup de grace. So for those that don't know, Lane Kiffin actually references the line. He apologizes for calling timeout, allowing the field goal to be kicked. That's why I said I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but if I were ... because he knew the line at that point. Well, he knew it, the whole game, but he knew what a field goal there means to people who had backed Ole Miss.
It made no sense to me for Ole Miss to take that timeout. Kentucky, sure. Ole Miss, what are you afraid of? They're going to get a touchdown? You're still up 2 possessions, right?
At that point, even if they score a touchdown, even if the defense was chaos and disorganized, they score a touchdown, you're talking about 3 seconds left, maybe a handful of seconds left.
Yeah,
at 13 seconds. If they're tackled in bounds, the game's probably over.
Yeah, I just don't get it. But, so what have I done? I've put my money back on Ole Miss this week. Money line.
Going to the well. Yeah, no spread this week, right?
No spread this week. We're just going money line. They're playing a very tough Arkansas team, who I think is fun to watch. I think it'll be a fun game. I do believe Ole Miss, this is their big home opener, really. I mean, they had their, obviously, opening day one was small school, but SEC home opener against a rival. I don't know if you know that. Ole Miss does hate Arkansas.
Absolutely.
So I've got Ole Miss there. I'm really excited about that. And then my follow-up pick, this one is solely to piss you off. I'm going South Carolina to beat Vandy, even though I absolutely hate the pick, and I think Vandy covers. But I did South Carolina money line.
I'm trying to figure out why I hate that pick. But now, I will say this. I believe Vandy leads the country in EPA, yards per game or yards per play. So something to think about. Vandy, they have a common opponent, Virginia Tech.
Mm-hmm. South
Carolina kind of needs some special team shenanigans to pull away from the Hokies. Vandy goes into Blacksburg and absolutely demolishes them.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. Definitely great games, as there are every single week in college football.
Right, which is why we do this show.
That's why we do it.
So much fun.
That's why we do it, baby.
I
think that's going to do it for this episode. Make sure, again, as you follow us on Twitter, @Pypeline_. And we'll see you guys next time on the Pipeline Award-winning show.